New movie to review. This one's called Baltimore. It's described as a vivid, intense biopic about an heiress who turned into a terrorist named Rose Dugdale, and it stars Joe Lawler and no, that's not right. Yeah, the writers Joe Lawler and Christine Malloy tell a cool low-key drama about the wealthy debutante who joined the IRA, abetted an art heist and bombed a police station. Okay, so topic being from the UK, that's close to my heart. It's directed by Joe Lawler and Christine Malloy, and they're both responsible for the writing. Imogen Poots plays the lead role of Rose. Tom Vaughan Lawler plays Dominic. Louis de Brophy plays Martin. Jack Mead plays Eddie. I'm just going down to see if any of the other members of the cast catch my eye, but they don't seem to. I don't recognise any of them, but there will be a full slide of the cast. So let's get on with the movie. Before the action commenced, we get a statement on screen that it's based on actual events, and the event that's highlighted is the 26th of April 1974 at Rusborough House in Ireland, and this is where the largest art fair in history occurred. And the gang demanded the repatriation from England to Ireland of 4 IRA prisoners in exchange for the 19 stolen paintings. And it was masterminded by the English heiress Rose Dugdale. Okay, so that confirms my earlier comments. We then get narration by Rose, and she takes us back to her childhood when she was 10, 1951, and her first experience of violence on a fox hunt. And then there's further noted dates in her life which have obviously impacted her belief system and her establishing her moral code. We then experience a few scenes where it's clear that Rose is resenting and building up hostility towards how she is being brainwashed into carrying out certain duties, certain expectations that her parents have, because they are rich or well to do and are part of a class where that sort of expectation is the norm. And of course we have parallels there with the monarchy. You're born into the monarchy and you're expected to carry out certain duties unquestioned, and how your stall in life is set out from the moment you were born. And young Rose, unfortunately, is rebelling against that, and this is the backdrop to this particular movie. We then move forward back inside this stately home, or maybe it's the place where the paintings are stolen, and then we move to the car, and this is where we see the members of the IRA. The car is a rough old piece of junk basically, and there are about 5 people there, and they show their solidarity as a group through a clenched fist of defiance. Yeah, this is a very impressive beginning. We then see Rose and her 3 accomplices gain access to this stately home, steal the paintings, and it's like taking candy from a child. And then we witness the footage, or the manhunt, via the black and white TV. The film then does a bit of a flashback to the 2 locations, the stately home and the hideout, with references to the paintings and their value, their huge value. We then swing forward to university, Oxford University, Rose there, and a sort of class debate, discussion about female emancipation and the methods which are on offer to try and change how men view women in a sort of chattel-like state, and that this obviously is trying to create an environment where Rose generated action to deal with her anger and outrage at particular decisions, how she developed confidence and action-based responses, how to develop into a political activist. It's quite easy to understand this, but its simplicity is part of its curiosity, part of its pleasure in watching it, I think. There are far too many movies that are extremely difficult to decipher, and I am reminded that for many, well, for some anyway, they become beyond deciphering, and therefore it's difficult to gain any sort of value in terms of entertainment, which surely movies should retain that purpose to entertain, but some don't entertain because they become more an analysis, a doctorate to try and define what's going on and where it's leading. So in many ways this simplistic sort of screenplay adaptation is right up my street. One of the flashbacks to the stately home, we see Rose with the boy move into the drawing room as she peruses yet more of these paintings, highly valued paintings that she's going to steal, and they're disturbed by a man who has a knife, I believe, and it cuts Rose's hand in a struggle She manages to knock him down and pull her gun out. But we saw earlier her receive a sort of Heath Robinson type repair to the wound on her hand, and now it becomes perfectly clear how she got it. Everything's very deliberate here, very precise. It's probably not the greatest movie in the world, but it's highly watchable. The gang, well, some of them anyway, at the hideout, use the opportunity to make some observations about the loot, the paintings, and describe what they see in the paintings in a somewhat more sophisticated way than one would expect from just you have common and garden thieves who are just more interested in the money than anything else. It's an interesting sideshow, really, amongst the plot, and adds some meat to the characters of those responsible for the heist. Rose rehearses her demands for the release of her comrades in exchange for the paintings. Rehearses it in French, which is the language that's been reported to the authorities at the initial heist, as she faked her audio when she entered the house. The director manages to generate quite a bit of suspense, particularly when Rose goes into a shop after making a phone call and issuing her demands. She goes in to buy a few things in the store, and there's a scene with the shopkeeper which did, for me anyway, generated a little bit of suspense, particularly as Rose picks up the newspaper, and her activity, her heist, is front page, and she develops a very cool response to a Q&A with the shopkeeper, which is a little bit nosy, one has, but another aspect to the film which I find nourishing. One of the gang, the youngest, is a little bit of a loose cannon, and the older males are trying to reel him in as he gets somewhat out of order at the stately home with the owners for really no reason whatsoever. There's another interesting scene with Rose and the boy, and she invites the boy to comment on this painting with a woman in the foreground who appears to be probably the owner or a rich woman, and in the background the woman looks likely to be a maid, and this provokes Rose to become rather aggressive as she visualizes the poor woman and goes on some sort of political diatribe about being valued, very much in a sort of left-wing style. The director then takes us to a scene in Belfast where Rose and her fellow activists in the IRA are witnessing what happened when the British Army opened fire on a group of Catholics in the Bogside area. Can't remember exactly when it happened, but and then we get the contrasting interpretation by the representative from the army as to what happened. So we get two sides to the story, the official one and the real one. A side plot's introduced. Rose is pregnant by one of her colleagues, Eddie, and she talks with the senior male in the group about her fears of bringing a child into a world of violence, which of course symbolised the conflict in Northern Ireland at that particular time. A level of paranoia develops amongst the group, particularly Rose, and we see the consequences of this with some decisions that are made. I won't tell you about them. Watch the movie. Rose portrays to her comrades and those involved in the heist a strength, a determination to go the full hog, not afraid to carry out killings if necessary. But when faced with it, we see that she's gripped by an empathy for those who she's with, and is torn. Although she's realizes that these possible witnesses should be eliminated, she can't get that extra, how would we put it, killer instinct to carry them out. This happens on a number of situations.